I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure you're in the same wavelength as I am, is that I am getting really impatient. I am done with this virus. I want to get back to church. I want to get back and be with my family of faith. And that includes you. I want to see you. I want to hear your stories. I want to hear your giggles. I want to see your stuffies. I want to sing together and I want to pray together and I want to dance together. I'm getting so impatient. I want to go to restaurants without wearing a mask. I want to go and hang out at my friend's place inside. I want to not be fearful that I might be carrying the virus and might give it to somebody else. I want to be able to just walk into a place and not have to worry. I'm being really impatient, and I think that many of us are with this virus and how long it's been going on. And we know that it's going to be a number of months before life gets back to normal. I say this to you because the fruit of the Spirit that we're going to be discussing today is patience. And so many of us are impatient right now, impatient with how life is and wanting to get back to our normal activities and our normal life. But we know that can't happen. And we know that we are not alone, that the world is with us, that we are experiencing this and living this globally. So the world waits. The world waits and it needs to exercise patience. So we're able to be kind to one another and love one another and protect and keep people safe. But that doesn't mean that we don't have impatience and that we don't want things to be different. Today, a story about my patience is we were going tubing on the Grand River last week, and so I put the address into the GPS because I live with my maps, my GPS, because I'm really bad with directions. We arrive at the destination, or so we thought, and it wasn't the destination. So I'm frantic. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're going to be late for our destination time. We're going to be late. And so I frantically put in a new address and start driving up the road. And I get to a slow moving car. They're not going the speed limit. They're going 10 under. And I am impatient. I'm actually kind of an impatient driver. And so I want to get going because I don't want to be late. And so I'm driving and I'm like talking to the car in front of me like, let's go, we're not out for a Sunday drive. And I'm saying, let's go, I'm going to be late. And my kids are saying to me, Mom, the person in the car in front of you can't hear you. Just relax. We will get there. We will get there in time. I would rather us get there a little bit late than really late and you get a ticket. All right. So of course we get to the destination minutes and minutes before I relax. But this fruit of the Spirit, patience, is definitely something that I need to continue to work and grow within myself. What are some of the things that you get impatient about? I know that sometimes my kids come up and say, Mom, I'm hungry. Let's have supper. What's for supper? And I'm like, supper isn't ready yet. And they're like, but I want supper now. Have you said that to your caregivers, to your parents? There's lots of things that we want that sometimes we can't have right away. And sometimes when we're doing things like this, we can get distracted. We're impatient and we wonder, what are we going to do next? Or what's happening next? So let's light our Christ candle to help us focus. to help us remember to be patient and enjoy being in the moment. Enjoy what we've got right now, knowing that Jesus taught us patience and to trust and to wait and to be loving and kind, and invites us to demonstrate those as well. So, as always, I like to, as you know, like to associate the fruit of the Spirit to an actual fruit. So today, we're going to be using a lemon. I don't know if you've ever ate a lemon, or you've probably had lemonade or ate something that was made out of lemons. But if I was to eat, let's say even half this lemon, which I'm not going to, and I don't recommend that you do either, they're pretty sour. I think I would probably get sick if I ate even half of it. But I use the lemon to help us demonstrate that eating that lemon, or even something that's really lemony, takes time. And we need to eat it slow because it's so sour. Not that patience is sour, but to eat a lemon, we need to slow down and spend time eating it. So when you eat part of a lemon, or you have some lemonade, or you eat like a lemon cookie or a lemon square or a lemon cake, I'm going to invite you to think about patience, and that being one of the fruits of the Spirit, one of the things that we have inside of us that God calls us to help us grow and to learn more about that, and how we can express that quality in our lives. Now, with that said, I have a lot to learn. Patience is not one of my strong suits. I may be patient with people, but I am really not patient with things. And so, as I said before, we don't need to be amazing at all of these fruits of the Spirit. But it's important to learn about them and to help them grow inside of us as fruits grow to be beautiful. Doesn't mean we have to be amazing at them, but it's important for us to learn how we can express this with this quality. And so in my impatience with driving, it makes no sense that I'm talking to the car in front of me. And so sometimes I just need to sit back and enjoy the countryside, enjoy my drive, enjoy the people that are in the car with me, and just relax and trust that I will get to the destination, and trust that good things are waiting for me. So that's something I continue to learn and to ponder and reflect on, and to get better at that. I have a couple questions for you. Are you a patient person? Or are you not a patient person? What makes you impatient? Or what helps you be patient? How can you exercise patience when you're in a hurry? When you want something right now? How do you slow down and just relax and know that whatever is going to come will come? How can you grow patience inside of you? I think we need to learn that we need to wait and to trust sometimes. Trust and wait with a calm heart and a cheerful heart. Sometimes there's things that we really want and we can't have. And we may never get those things that we want. And there are times when we're going to get what we want, but we might not get them right away. Sometimes we need to just slow down and realize that good things will come our way, even if it's not exactly what we want. With God, all things are possible. If we trust in God, we trust our loved ones to keep us safe and to help us know what's best for us, good things will come. I have this story that I want to read to you, and you may have heard this story before. It's Abraham and Sarah. And this is a story very much about being trusting and waiting and being patient. I want you to listen to the story and try and count how many times this story says the word trust and says the word wait. A long time ago, there lived a man named Abraham and his wife Sarah. They were happy, except they didn't have any children. One day, God spoke to Abraham. I want you to go to a land that I will show you. If you do this, I will give you as many children and grandchildren. Now, Abraham and Sarah were very old, much too old to be having children. But Abraham and Sarah trusted God. So they packed up their belongings and they set off to this new land that God would show them. And they waited for God to keep the promise. Time passed. Abraham and Sarah were not getting any younger. One day, Abraham and Sarah came to a beautiful land. God told them, one day all of this land will be yours, and it will be your children and your grandchildren's as well. Abraham and Sarah knew that they were very old. They also knew they didn't have children yet, but they trusted God and they waited for God to keep the promise. God cared for Abraham and Sarah as they traveled. Their flocks of sheep and goats grew larger and larger. Life was good for them. God continued to move them from place to place. They trusted God and they waited for God to keep God's promises. Finally, Abraham and Sarah came to the land that God had promised them. It was a beautiful land with food for them and their goats and their sheep. And once again, God told them, all the land that you see, I will give to you and your children forever. And your children will be as many as the dust of the earth or the stars in the sky. Abraham looked at Sarah, and Sarah looked at Abraham. Neither of them would say what they were thinking. They were old, much too old to be having children, but they trusted God, and they waited for God to keep the promise. One day, as Abraham was resting in the shade of the tent, 3 strangers came by. Visitors did not usually walk this way in the wilderness, so it was strange to have visitors. Welcome, Abraham said. Will you stop and rest for a while? You can rest under my shade tree. I will bring you food to eat and cool water to drink. Abraham called to his servants. Abraham and Sarah were happy to share what they had because there was little food in the wilderness and visitors were always welcomed. As the strangers finished their meal, one of the men said to Abraham, when we come back next year this way, you and your wife will have a baby boy. Sarah overheard the man and she started to giggle. Then she snickered. Then she chuckled. Finally, she laughed out loud. God had promised her a child, but she was over 90 years old. The stranger looked over at the tent. Why is Sarah laughing? Doesn't she know that with God anything is possible? Well, when the next year came, Abraham and Sarah had a beautiful son and they named him Isaac. And you know what the word Isaac means? Laughter. Sarah remembered how she had laughed at what the stranger had told her about this birth. Every time Sarah and Abraham looked at their baby, They remembered God's promise and remembered to trust. What a wonderful story of waiting and trusting and being patient. Abraham and Sarah wanted children for so long, and they were almost giving up hope because they were so old. But through this story, we see that they continually trusted and waited and knew God would deliver his promise. And God did. God gave them this beautiful child. And in a different versions of the story, it says that Abraham and Sarah had as many children and grandchildren as stars in the sky, and as many grains of sand as they could see. If I was to ask you, how many grains of sand are in this jar? We might be here for 5 years counting them. Even in this handful, we'd probably be here for the rest of the week because there's so many grains of sand. These grains of sand and the stars are a very important part of this story, because it says in the story that if they waited and if they trusted, they would have as many children as they were able, and that they would be taken care of, and their children and their children's children would be so well taken care of. So I'm pretty sure Abraham and Sarah had a really, really, really hard time waiting, but they trusted. And that's something that I want us to remember. I want us to remember this story when we want something so bad, but we can't have it right away. And just like Sarah giving up hope because she was over 90 years old, there's no way she probably thought that she could have this baby, but she did. It's kind of a strange story, because we do know that 90-year-olds really can't have children. But what I love about this story is just knowing that with God, all things are possible. All things are possible. Even if we don't get what we want, we might get something better because it's better for us. And I'm sure that God knew that Abraham and Sarah needed to wait for the right time in their life. So I have a couple of things that are in the lesson plans that I sent to your caregivers for you to do to help you remember this story and to remember the fruit of the Spirit that we have been talking about. One of the things is I sent a recipe to make lemonade from scratch. But don't do that yourself. You need some adult supervision because you need to use the stove. And I would love to hear how it is. If you can't do that, maybe you have a can of lemonade that you can make up to remember this story and to remember patience. One other simple craft that we could do is that we could make chain links. And so you take a piece of paper, maybe a piece of construction paper, and you cut it lengthwise and wide pieces of paper. And then you put it in a circle, and then you attach it. And then you put another one together and attach it to the circle, and it makes a chain, a rope. Maybe you want to hang it in your bedroom on your dresser or something like that. But before you put each link together, the piece of paper together, I would like you to write down something that you did that exercised or showed patience. And so maybe you start that the first time you realize, oh my gosh, I showed patience here. I didn't demand what I wanted, and this is what I did. And so I needed to exercise patience right there because my laptop went off. And so if you saw me go startled, that's what happened. Um, so write down on the piece of paper what you did to calm your heart and to steadily your heart. Did you pray? Did you ask someone for help? Did you think, oh, did you just like take a deep breath? And so maybe your chain link will grow and grow and grow through this summer, and maybe let it be a reminder that we're invited to show patience and to help other people be patient and to know that all things are possible and to help people and to help ourselves know that sometimes we just need to wait with a calm heart. Let us pray. God, we give you thanks because we know that you walk with us in our struggles, when we're impatient, when we want things right away and we know we can't get them. God, we give you thanks for our loved ones who help us, who help calm us, who help us learn that good things will happen in our lives if we wait and we trust. And God, we pray for those in our faith community and in the world, and those in our city who may be ill, who may be alone, who may be fearful. Help them to know your comforting presence and to know that they are not alone. Amen. Next week, we are going to be talking about kindness. And so we'll see you then. Have a good week.